Parashat Shemot. Parashat starts, Ve'ele Shemot Bnei Yisrael. What does it say after that? Habbaim Mitzrayma. Habbaim Mitzrayma. Which are, by the way, coming now to Egypt. This shiur, by the way, is the Refuah Shlema of Chana Aliza Bat Shendel Lechama, and to my teacher Chaim Israel Halevi Ben Batya, and also, that's for now. Right. That is in a way the continuation of the struggle between the neshama, the soul, in parentheses call it Bnei Israel, and our body, which we'll put in parentheses and we call it Egypt, Mitzrayim. We all know the word Mitzrayim comes from the word Meitzer or Meitzar. Meitzar means a narrow straits, or Tsar, a place that really confines you. So Mitzrayim, that's what Mitzrayim all about. Mitzrayim was known to a place that erases the individuality of the person by making it impossible for them to leave. Erasing the individuality, you became a subsidiary of the state, of Paro, whatever it is. So in a way, the body, if we look at this like in this way, the body is the jail of the neshama, because it holds the neshama in and confines it and doesn't allow it to really be. Neshama is endless. It really puts it within the parameters of the body. Now, not for nothing, the Torah uses the word or the expression Habaim Mitzrayma, those who are arriving in Egypt, not arrive, Asher Ba'u Mitzrayma. Habaim means continuation. Because this reality of coming into Egypt is a reality that we all share minute by minute every single day. So the lesson of what it says there, we can get to this parasha, is tremendous because it applies to our days, especially to our days and every single moment of our lives. Each one of us, there's a little paro in him. Now, of course, if you take the words paro, Pharaoh, that's the beauty of Hebrew, because you can really learn a lot. Paro is the same letters of ha'orif. Orif means the backside. Your neck, your backside. So when Moshe says to Paro, Ko amar Hashem, so says God, Elokei Israel, the God of Israel, Shalach et ami, let my people go, right? Paro says, Umi Hashem asher eshma bekulo, who is God of which I listen to him? Now, that is, in a way, when I'm saying I'm turning my back at him, that is that the body is turning the back to the neshama, and basically is not willing to acknowledge its importance, and makes the body the most important thing, and that is the continuous battle and struggle all the time between chomer, materialism, physical, to the spirit, which is our soul, our neshama, or in a way, call it the battle on our own identity. Who are we? What are we? So the Zohar teaches us that as much as the body grows and becomes bigger, in other words, call it the body in which the neshama stays within, so is the neshama gets bigger as well. So it means if I'm fat, which unfortunately I am, but it means that my neshama is big. Well, not really. We're not talking about that. We are talking about the actual, call it maturity. Gadel grows in terms of maturity. So therefore, this true battle starts around your time your bar mitzvah. I guess that's your teens, when you become 13. That's the real battle. The battle starts over there. And I'm not talking about, we're not getting into the Erickson, concept of stages of separation. We're not talking about this now. But this is at that point when you're 13, there is enough, or should be enough, powers and ability to start fighting the body. But together with that, in order to make it fair, the body also is raging with whatever hormones or whatever it is to make it fair, as they say. Of course, the peak of that, supposedly, I mean, assuming that you live normal life, reaches about 7 years later, around when you are 20, when your body reaches its peak in terms of its physical development. The peak of your physical development, Rabotai, I'm sorry to tell you that, is between 20 to 25. After that is a slow decline, but it's all the way downhill. I'm telling you that. That's so. When the body reaches its, this thing, so is the neshama grows together with it again to make things fair. So that every year during these weeks that we're having now, where we're talking about the 6 weeks, where we're talking about actually the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, whatever is involved with that, we have in a way a new chance, a new opportunity to really go through this battle, to relive this battle all over again. And of course, we all know that this period is called Kufat Shovavim. Shovav in Hebrew means mischievous. Right? Kufat Shovavim, you really get a chance to relive this again. And the Shovavim is the initials, of course, of the Parashiot, Shemot, Vayera, Bo, Beshalach, Yitro, and Mishpatim, that makes it Shovavim. And at that time, if you're into the spiritual thing, the so-called the heavens opened up and really allows us to relive our childhood or to refix whatever we had in our childhood. And I was like, this thing, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about the whole concept of time travel, without getting into it now, but it just made me go there. It's just fascinating if we could, whatever, we could relive our childhood and try to fix the mistakes or balance our lives from that point and on, and each one of us to bring us to our own exodus, and to basically reach the stage of ultimate freedom, where for us spiritually is Ma'amad al Sinai. It's standing in Sinai, in which it says over there, right? It says al luchot habrit, right? Michtav Elokim ucharut al luchot. Charut, chet resh vav taf. So it says the Midrash tells us, don't call it charut, engraved, but rather chirut, freedom. So you see that after supposedly, if you were able to go through the process of coming out of your own personal Egypt, your true chirut will have to be somewhere if you have, of course, the right perspective, and it all has to do with the right perspective. You can really reach it through learning Torah. Again, and I'm saying if you have the right perspective, or the right, call it, attitude. But don't take it for granted. So, and the Midrash says, don't call it charut ela chirut. In other words, chirut, freedom from all the boundaries in which the physical body put upon us. Freedom from malach hamavet. Now, if you ask me in this aspect, what would I call the angel of death? What's malach hamavet? I'm not talking about a guy that looks like, or some kind of a being that looks like a, I don't know, Frank Zappa with little horns in the tail with a fork in his head, or, I'm not talking about that. But really, malach hamavet, in terms of what kills us, is what we call yeush, desperation. When you frustrated, when you're willing to give up, is immediately that we stop fighting. We said, okay, that's it. You know what? I'm done. Just let it go through, and I'll just cruise to the horizon and just wait my turn to die about it. I'm not fighting for stuff anymore. In a way, I don't really care. So when we reach that stage, we really abandon the whole struggle, the whole campaign, and willing at that point to fulfill only the needs of the body. We completely declined the neshama. It's like, just let me eat and drink. It's like they said in Pompeii, eat and drink because tomorrow we'll die. It's all about, physical pleasures and so on and so forth. At that point, you are considered to be dead. In other words, we are really zombies at this point. There's no lifehood in it. What gives us lifehood is not necessarily the strength of our body, but the energy of our mind, of our spirit, and so on and so forth. So after they had the splitting of the sea and going free, while they were walking in the desert, we all know the story, what happened? Bnei Israel started to complain. They always complain. And they complain about the hardship of the journey. They complain about the difficult conditions. While they were walking in the desert, they complain about, everything they could, and especially they complain about the great pleasure in which they had in the old country, in the old world, with the great food that they had, with the shishlik that they had, and the kebabs that they had, and those wonderful cucumbers with salt which they had. Oh my goodness, it was so good. Oh, wonderful, right? So, if you look at this, description of what they're talking about, onions and garlic and the food. It looks like, as from a materialistic point of view, tell the truth, life was not so bad there. Life was not so bad in Egypt, and so therefore, let's put it this way: what's so difficult about galut altogether, exile altogether? I mean, people are in exile and they're always complaining. I mean, but it's just such great food here. I mean, steaks and whatever you want. So what's the point here? So we all know, if we'll be honest, we all know that when we are not in our own country, regardless of where you are, you can't really protect yourself. We can't really protect ourselves. And I think one of the reasons that Jews were always persecuted, whatever they were, because they were an easy target. Unfortunately, Jews never learned to defend themselves. I think Jews were at a certain point more Christians than Christians. Not only to turn the other cheek, they turned up the whole entire body like little things on a skewer, like smack and smack again. We were like the local piñata. Just beat us up because we were there. That came from, we went through with thousands of years of being bullied. We didn't have our own country. We were in exile. We couldn't defend ourselves. So who are you going to pick up? You're going to pick up on the big guy? You're going to pick up the guy who can't really defend himself. And we never addressed that bullying. My teacher, Chaim Israel Halevi Ben Batya, is one of the people that showed me things different in my life. I always thought that, coming from Israel, the Jews in America, a bunch of wimps, and he showed me that it's not the case. And I was really inspired by this person. He's an amazing human being. Amazing human being, amazing. He gave me so much in terms of perspective that really changed the whole ball game in terms of what to do with the people. In a way, he had tremendous influence on how we run things here in the yeshiva. We're not becoming apologetic. But we were the bullies. Well, we were bullied all the time. For whatever. Anybody that needed a reason to get his steam out will pick up a Jew and beat the daylight out of him. Instead of, but, without getting into theological thing, why is this, and, the three, promises. But the fact is, we were weak, we couldn't defend ourselves, we got beaten up. Always. So that's in terms of that. We all know that. But being in exile has tremendous other meanings as well. And the Zohar gives a tremendous and a very deep explanation, which is really beautiful, on the real essence of being in Galut, in Golah, being in exile. And we are in exile. And the Zohar says that oppression really means control over your brain and over your spirit, and not necessarily on your body. And if you just wait a few seconds and just think about it, you might understand appreciate how amazing this thing is. In exile, the Jewish spirit many times, that really is like bubbling inside of us, which really, in a way, makes us so unique. Really could tell us about our job in the world, is really in a stage of numbness, or a place of dazed and confused. Like we're not really on top of things. And when we are in that stage of dizziness, call it this way, spiritual dizziness, then you become vulnerable. You're not sharp. You're not on you, and then everybody or everything can come and attack you and affect you. You should know that being in exile is not a territorial, geographic concept. It's first of all a mindset. It's a mindset. In other words, you could really live in Israel, in the Holy Land, and still mentally be completely in exile and completely removed. I did not, and I told you this a million times, I did not understand the meaning of being in exile until I took my son, my boy, I took him to Israel, and instead of making a big party, we went to Jerusalem. We did a whole, we discovered Israel by foot. I decided, you know what, I'm not doing parties. I'm not playing this game. And I went with him, and we went to the southern wall. Of course, we went to the western wall. We went to the tunnels, the whole thing. And then, we went to the southern wall. The southern wall, there are steps, and there are the two gates of Huldah, which these were the gates that people enter from the city of David all the way to the Temple Mount. And those gates are closed with stones that the Ottomans and Byzantine and the Arabs closed in. And I said, Ribono Shel Olam, I'm standing here. Behind this wall is Beit HaMikdash. I'm here, and I can't get in. And why don't I break this in? And go, what? You're going to tell me nobody has the whatever it takes to break this and to go in? Well, what's the problem? Am I in exile? And I felt, I live here in the States for 35 years. But I got to tell you this. I felt the essence of exile almost at the holiest place for Judaism, almost at the holiest of holies. I was at the footsteps of the walls entering Beit HaMikdash, and I felt the exile there. And then I realized it all is in your mindset. It's not where you are, it's how you think. And then you got to think about it yourself. So it's very possible you can have a person that his body is completely free. He's free. He can do whatever he wants. He can go whatever he wants. But he's really imprisoned in the jail of his negative thoughts, of his fears, of his frustrations. There are among us people who drive Mercs and Beamers, and they have beautiful, ginormous mansions and houses and so on and so forth. They have wonderful families. They have a terrific health. Nothing is wrong with them. And yet, together with that, they are captives they're captive with their own frustration, with the sadness, and everything, every little thing that does not happen according to the way they plan or according to the way they want it, already knocks them out, and they're really upset, and they throw a hissy fit. I'm sorry to tell you, these are not men. They're babies. That one of the things it takes to be a man is just, listen, get up and do something. Just stop complaining about every single thing. People like this cannot really become leaders. Needless to say, if you would take a person like this as a commander, put him in a unit in the field, whether it's a platoon or it's a regiment or whatever it is, he's not going to be able. He's going to, give up and let other people be slaughtered. And there are thousands of people like this. Oh, it's too much for me. I can't do that. Every little thing throws them off. On the essence of mental exile and emotional exile, which we all deal with it today, the Zohar really understands and learns from that. From the pasuk of the parasha, according to that, the Bnei Israel worked during the time of slavery in Egypt, and what the Torah says, avodah kasha, chomer velevenim. So let's see what the Zohar says about it. Avodah kasha, says the Zohar, comes from the words kushiyot. Each and every one of us has a million question marks and doubts and so on and so forth. Well, in a way, it's actually good to have questions, because if you have questions, I mean, you're thinking about something and you want to find a solution, you want to get better. But do you really want to hear the answers? We have a ton of questions, but we are not willing to listen to any answer that anybody will give us. We don't want to be inspired. We don't want to take destiny to our own hands. We always blame somebody else for our own lack of action. Do you want to hear the answers? Or are you just enjoying asking those questions? All you do is just want to have a little box over there and put your box. You can go to England, to Hyde Park, stand on a box and just talk all day long. Ask all the questions you want. Probably going to have 1 million followers because they're all going to be losers like you. But people love to create problems. Nobody's interested in finding solutions, finding a way to make things work. Okay, we have a problem. It's fine. Nobody says we don't have a problem, but let's see how we fix it up, how we deal with it. We're just going to lay on our backs like this. This dog is all of a sudden, he barks and barks and barks. You come into it, you say, boo, and he lays on the floor. He's like, already, okay, tickle my stomach. I give up. It doesn't work like this. And that's what Bnei Israel did. They had a lot of questions, but they didn't want to hear any answer. The spiritual powers that really wants to break free, and they grow inside of us until the place is too narrow for them. It becomes Mitzrayim to ourselves, and these are that really, in a way, force the body to go through hardship and difficulties and so on and so forth. And we all know that only when things are hard, when things are difficult for you, only then you can grow and you can change. When everything is la-di-da-di-da, everything is good, why should I change? Everything is terrific. So if difficulty comes to you, okay, that's good. Don't give up. Don't put a tail between your hands and play possum. So okay, the difficulty comes. I can only grow from this. You should be happy for this chance for you to grow. Instead of having an anxiety attack, say, okay, I'm going to grow from this. That's an opportunity. You know what? Let's have it. I mean, if you need to spar with someone, right? So most people will take a guy who is small and they can beat him. He feels good, it goes like this, and so on and so forth. But you should pick up the meanest, ugliest guy that you can find in the dojo, in the gym, or whatever you are, and then try to overcome him. Don't run away from him. Try to say, come again and again. And learn from your mistake. It's good to make mistakes. That's terrific. I can only grow and develop. Nobody's born with a black belt come from his mother's womb. You need to earn it. Somebody said something which I thought it was beautiful. I loved it. What's a black belt? A black belt is a white belt that never gave up. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean to give up? Look, we'll try. Listen, I'm not going to become an Olympian to run in the whatever it is, 100-meter dash. Well, it doesn't mean I should stop exercising. Okay, so you have a little pain. And I told you this 1,000,000 times. I have a big disagreement with my physical therapist over this thing. They said you should stop before the pain. I said, what do you mean stop before the pain? I got used to all my life that when I have pain or I have discomfort to know that now the real workout starts. And it doesn't make sense to stop. What do you mean to stop? Now it hurts, it's good. No, okay, now we're going to push it. Now we're going to make the difference. And the same thing to our lives. So then the Zohar says chomer. Chomer, according to the Zohar, comes from chomriyut, materialism, or being what we call chamur sever. Like we're too serious. Guys, we lost our ability to joke. I'm not saying become clowns. So I said to you yesterday. I'm not saying become a clown. Don't become a joker. That's nonsense. But lighten up a little bit. Just throw a joke. It's okay. Look at yourself in the mirror. Instead of being sad, just laugh at it. Say, oh my goodness, how did I get here? Laugh a little bit. I know it's pretty sad sometimes when you look in the mirror. But you know what I'm saying? Don't be so serious, so stiff. And sometimes listen, there is a thing to do more than when you have to. That's a very good thing to do. But not always. When it comes to halacha, when it comes to do certain things, I understand you want to do more, because it's a matter of an attitude. But when we reach a certain point that it seems to us that our life are very serious, severe, very difficult, and just the thought of life itself becomes so heavy on us, right? That's a sign that something is bad. For example, when you go to work, most people will go to work, they would deliberately put themselves in a place of super seriousness, if they bichlal working today, and I'm not quite sure, but they will have to make things difficult for themselves. They need to suffer, and as far as they're concerned, if they came home and they're at the end of the day with with a long face and saying, "Oh my goodness, it was so difficult for me. I'm such a poor guy. I work myself." That wasn't a good day. I mean, God forbid that they'll come home and they'll be happy. Oh, Baruch Hashem, I have a job. I'm very happy with what I have. If you don't suffer, it's no good. Listen, we're not Japanese for that matter. Even the Japanese, after they go to work, they get wasted. But you know what I'm saying? You gotta chill out a little bit, and it's okay. What you do right, but don't overdo it for the sake of suffering. Overdo it because I want to, and that's the difference between halacha. I'm doing things because I want to do the extra thing. I want to for myself, not because if I do extra, he's such a tzaddik. That's wrong. That's wrong. Because then your attitude starts to stink. And that's bad. There's no such thing as attitude deodorant. We got to watch out from this. And then we're talking about levenim, bricks. So levenim comes from the word lavan. What does it mean? They used to take the mud, whatever it is they put, whatever they make over there, straw, whatever it is, and then they fire them, or they put it in the sun, and then it becomes white. So and bricks is a very heavy thing. So yes, building the pyramids with bricks and mortar and stuff like this, we think that the pyramid actually ended building, and the truth is our own pyramids are still building, or whatever it is that we're building is still building. So the cinder blocks of old being replaced with the sadness, with giving up, and really make your life very, very heavy. Prevents you, it anchors you down, it pulls you down, prevents you from being free. You cannot swim in the ocean when you have two cinder blocks tied around your necks, or your neck, or your legs, or whatever it is. You're going to sink. So, when we fall into despair, when we're giving up, we call it yeush, we give up already. For most of us, it's not necessarily despair that is existential, I want to, God forbid, kill myself, but just like thoughts that we think that our life is a collection array of duties that are very difficult, and there's too much of this and too many tasks, and there's really nothing to be happy about or satisfied about. And we call it burnout. Some people reach a certain burnout level that they simply cannot go to work anymore. They can't. I'm burnt out. I can't. Life became so heavy. You could have this guy who is a huge, developer, and he was shaker and mover and, whatever it is. And now he can't, he wants to go to Copacabana all day long, or whatever it is. Whatever people go to nowadays. That's not a way to go about life. That's not the way about life. Well, one way to overcome these limitations of the body, and according to the Zohar, is to choose the way of love. You have to choose love, because it says ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You should love your fellow human being as much as you love yourself. And I'm deliberately not saying fellow Jew, say human being. And this is the whole Torah, as they say, on one leg, as Rabbi Akiva said. And why is that? Because as soon as you're able to get out of your stage of being selfish, that all it is all about yourself, and you learn to love other people, what we call ahavat chinam, for the fact that they're humans, it means that you broke away from the boundaries of your body. Because the body is all about, I don't want to sound Freudian, but it's all it. It's all about me, myself. I'm the center of the universe. Everything is to serve me. I'm not willing to give up to everybody else. Now, by the way, that's why you have a lot of failed marriages. Because people marry someone for them to serve them, to serve the person, rather than to do the other way around. I'm marrying somebody so I could serve them, so I can help them. It's an opportunity for me to get out of myself, to grow. You want to tell me that that I'm wrong when I tell many guys that they married a wife that's going to be exactly like their mommy because they haven't grown up? They haven't. They want a replacement for mommy. Mommy's getting old. They want a replacement. They're not going to marry somebody which really could challenge them, that they can grow and develop, become better. They want another mommy, a younger version, but another mommy. And their interaction is going to be the same thing. And then it fails. Because guess what? She ain't your mommy. Maybe she's your mama, but she ain't your mommy. And that's a problem. So we need to understand, and we need to really internalize it, that the control, the only control that we have is basically on ourselves, on our brain, on the reality, the external reality, in a way that there's very little that we can do, because that reality compiles from many, many people and many, many forces. But I can control the way I think. I can control the way I look at things. That's up to me. In other words, my attitude is the only thing that I can control. And regardless of all the efforts that we have to predict the future, and of course to prevent any kind of discomfort and only seeking pleasure, a person that decides it doesn't make a difference what will happen, I'm always going to be in simcha, I'm going to be in joy, is really able to, by doing so, is really able to come out of his own exile that he put himself. Because when you are at that stage of sadness, you're vulnerable. You don't pay attention to what's going on. You're not willing to take care of it. You just don't care anymore. You lost the urge to live. You don't want to live anymore. That's why everybody wants to win the lottery. That's not going to make you happy. Nobody wants to do the work. Just be besimcha. Say, look, everything is an opportunity for me to grow. I'm alive, for crying out loud. I'm alive. Is that enough? You can get up in the morning and do whatever you need to do. That's not enough for you. What are you complaining? You're taking things for granted. Discover that you have asthma. And by the way, you don't get asthma from gas stoves. There's all these bright lights over there, whatever the heck they are. You don't get... right? It's crazy what's going on in the world today. And the willingness of people not to think. We know why? Because nobody wants to live anymore. They just want their body. There's no spirituality in the world, no connection to the spirit. They want everybody to make decisions for themselves. We are in the stage of slavery today. Yes, physical slavery is being abolished by Abe Lincoln. But mental and spiritual slavery is full force ahead. You can't think for yourself. You want the master to think for you. You want some guy in Capitol Hill to think for you. You can't think for yourself. And I don't care if you're right wing or left wing or center wing or quarterback or whatever you are. I don't really care. You should be able to think for yourself. And you should be very happy. And when you decide that, and you're able to come out of your own personal exile, you're really revealing certain qualities that Moshe Rabbeinu had that really exists in us. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu deals with whatever life sends his way, and in a way wins Paro that dwells nowhere else besides his own head. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe, Boel Paro, go inside his head, or go inside your head. Remove all those things that turn their back at you, and you deal with it. And the Navi Yeshaya wrote, Ki besimcha tetzeu. You're going to be redeemed with the joy. And he really meant that the way to become free goes through the effort. And again, that's a dirty word today. Today we can't use the word effort. Among other words we can use today, but effort is you can't use that because you should not put any effort. But you should put an effort to become happy. And the shot of the pasuk, this basic idea behind this verse is that after you go to the light, after a long period of darkness, you become very happy. You rejoice. I mean, look at the what do you call it? When during the winter when you have that mood syndrome because of lack of light, everybody's more optimistic in the summer. It's the same thing. But if you look at this really deeper, you would see that it's a complete order, the opposite order. It's a complete opposite order. Because if you go from if you say that only when after darkness I'm going to go into light, you'll be happy. But our life is not always in our control. But the decision to be free and to be happy is completely ours. And the way to overcome the boundaries of the body, as the Zohar says, as we said before, is to choose the way of love. And we need to understand that that is the way. When you are in the darkness, you need to decide that you're going to make the best out of it. As hard as it is. Whatever your personal abilities are. And that's why it says, Habayim Mitzrayma. Because this happens to us each and every single day. That's why in Pesach we say something which is fascinating. Because in a way, it doesn't make sense. What do we say in Pesach? Chayav kol adam lirot atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mitzrayim. You have to see yourself every day as if you are coming out of Egypt. What do you mean in Egypt? I was never a slave in Egypt, thank God. But my own Egypt. I'm not saying life is easy. I'm not saying we don't have fears. I'm not saying we don't have difficulties. All I'm saying is face them and take them one by one. Learn how to fight. My teacher told me one time, the biggest sparring that you ever have in your life is against yourself. Conquer your own demons that exist within you. That's the ultimate level of martial arts. And then you gotta do it. We have to be free. Stop listening to all this negativity from the news because all it does is makes you more depressed, more into the mud. Stop finding good things in everything that you see, in everything that you do, even if it's hard. Don't be afraid from putting an effort. Don't be afraid if it hurts. Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Make yourself happy. Small achievement. Celebrate them. Give yourself a spiritual belt every time you finish a test, you do something. Encourage others. The ability to change through the changing of others is much greater than to change one yourself. So if you can't bring to change yourself, change others, and by all means you will change as well. Egypt is not necessarily, or the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim is not necessarily a story of history or coming out of one particular geographic place. It has to do with all of us, all the time. Shabbat Shalom.